Shannon was really sick. From Boston. He was out in the middle of the night walking him.
Yeah. What do they do with the, Lyme antibiotics, just like? they do?
Yeah, he was on it. Yeah, IV antibiotics, and now I keep him on the supplements to keep it at bay. Japanese snake feed is really good,
Yeah.
so he's on that. And he flares up. So
That Lyme disease.
he was at test for a week. That was a $10,000 bill. Then he was at Newington Med Surg.
Because of the Lyme?
The process.
Oh.
Okay.
No,
So
he
just a
called it.
warning, folks, we are setting up, it's in process, so just be aware that some of your conversation may be picked up.
We won't talk about building.
Don't say anything unkind of me or anyone else. Or official.
People like.
And there's a delay, which drives me nuts, because I can hear it off that. Let's start.
Karen, I can you check into that, triumph program in the office, the third one for the month.
Okay, it's 6:58, so I'm gonna give it another minute at least, but you should all be aware that we are online, open online, and we'll look, you'll see, me joining remote. So far, I only see Lisa remote, correct?
Yes. Good to have you.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody getting in place a little early, we're not usually this together this early, but. Yeah, we're live. All sorts of conversations. Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lucy Robbins Wells Library Board of Trustees meeting for Monday, June 9th, 2025. I'm glad to see you all here. I was stating earlier, it's nice to have a meeting that starts at 7 without even getting pre-meetings going on, so hopefully everybody's had a chance to get their day into transition here. I'll turn it over to roll call for Elizabeth, if you're ready.
George Bernacco,
Here.
Andy Brecker,
Here.
Kelly DeHaas,
Here.
Jason Hitt, Anna Eddy, Pam Canary,
Here.
Pauline Crook, Iris Larson, Leanne Mankey,
Here.
Maureen O'Connor Lyons,
Here.
Chris Riley,
Here.
Christine Shushin,
Here.
Diane Stam,
Here.
Lisa Maston,
Here.
Karen Benner, here, Sheila Rowell,
Here.
David Nagel,
Here.
and Kim Rada.
Here.
That's it.
Great, thank you. Public participation, is there anybody online for public participation?
There's not.
Yeah, and I don't see anyone in the room, we'll move right into town council liaisons. Dave or Kim, anything?
Well, I just went through, our last meeting was, May 27th. So let me see, we had 2 proclamations, we did talk about, tax incentive, and we pull up some of what we have, there were appropriation transfers, one of which, was specific to the library, moving, $33,432 from the CIP, to the library expansion account. Personal leave and vacation leave policy, which, does affect the library. It's, I can read some of this. You can take leave and, people can take personal and vacation leave in less than half-day increments. And you want to read through the entire thing, which I haven't memorized, and Dave probably hasn't either, but, it's, there's some, it's very specific, but, I guess when, the town manager brought this to, the department heads, there was no opposition raised, they were fine with that. Let's see, what else can I tell you about?
So fine tuning of an existing policy, and it's online if people want to see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Housing needs study, I don't think that really affects the library too much. We did accept the resignation of Newell Stam resigning, as a member of the library renovations / addition public building committee. We received that again, towards the end of May, and, we approved that as well. And I think, let's see if there's any much more. One of 3 items that is coming before the, facilities naming committee, of which I am the chair, there are 3 members of us, is, the request to rename 28 Garfield Street, currently OFI, which will no longer, we don't want to keep calling it the OFI building. So, we're working on scheduling a day at a time, when, we can meet and, discuss this and, 2 others that came to our attention. And then the only other thing is, amendment to, the 25-26 classification and committee plan, and I think that, in terms of the library, any impact on the library that would, positively impact the library in terms of, the library director. And that is pretty much all. Dave, anything else that you have that?
The only thing I think to mention is the ordinance for central building. Was passed by the group, which I believe you mentioned earlier. I voted against it, because I know that it didn't give, the additional, input that the library wanted, given, and you know the story, given that you own the property, and it passed without that being resolved. I won't get into details about it, but I did want to let you know that I and some others of the council voted against it. It wasn't 100% in favor, but it did pass.
Yes, that was not part of the, May 27th meeting.
No, but
That
it
was
was,
meeting prior to
was-
that,
the May 13th. That's the last meeting.
right.
Thank you. And what was that, you listed the number of committee or something number, and then you said it affects the library director?
This is, and it was under new business, it's, let me see where, no, the administrative group classification and pay plan. I think
Okay,
that- Yeah,
so more HR.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right. Any questions for our town councilors?
No.
No. All right, I'm gonna move into if you'll allow me, I'm gonna move into the activities calendar for a moment. I just want to mention now that there is a Friends annual meeting coming up Wednesday of this week. Is anyone here attending, or councilors attending? Kim, I know you're very involved with that. Are you?
No, Wednesday is my long work day until 10 PM, so I'd already talked with, folks and told them that I would be able to attend.
Okay, well, in that case,
What time is that at?
6 o'clock in this room, and the Boomers are the entertainment, so it'll be fun. They were here for Winterfest, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, maybe we'll just continue a little bit more, and I'm gonna turn the floor over to Sheila Rowell for a moment. So we're going a little bit off script.
Well, because we usually, at the meeting that's coming up on Wednesday, we usually pass out our certificates of appreciation to all the people who have done so much for us. And one of them this year, we wanted to give to Kim for all of the support that she has given us. Physically and,
Spiritually.
Town council. So
Oh,
thank you so much.
thank you all so much, and I'll talk to Nora and I'll send my regards and my thanks, and yeah, I really felt badly that I couldn't attend. I've had to I think it's now been almost 2 years where I've had to switch my evening shift from Thursday to Wednesday, and unfortunately, that caused me to have to, miss a lot and really step down from the board, but thank you all so much.
Well, now you know why I was trying to take attendance for the Friends annual meeting. I was, yeah, right, I was given a heads up that if you weren't gonna go, and I thought, well, if she does somehow manage to go there in person, that would be.
This
place
is
to do it.
very much appreciated, thank you all so much.
But it is a reminder for anybody listening in or anybody here in this room, the Friends annual meeting, dare I say it, is more entertaining than ours.
I would say having
Words right out of my mouth.
been a participant, been an observant and then participating, and Sheila knows, they're really a lot of fun and you learn a lot, and it's, yeah. It's nice to have everyone together.
Yeah. So again, in this room, 6 o'clock Wednesday. It's fun to do the business and then they usually have a little bit of entertainment and it can be fun. Okay, so now we'll go back to our regularly scheduled program. Sorry for that. So we'll move into the secretary's report with George Bonanno.
There's no.
No report, thank you, George. Okay, approval of minutes. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or corrections for?
I have 2 corrections, and I wrote page numbers this time, so I.
Yeah. I thank you, and Elizabeth thanks you.
On page 7, under the facilities inside, the number should be 8,400 was left in March, not 84,000.
That would be really nice.
And then the only other correction I had was on page 8, Republican should be capitalized, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we gotta ask Pam.
Yeah.
We default to Pam and all. All right.
Those were my only 2 comments.
Thank you. Anybody else have comments? I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes as amended.
So moved, Leanne.
Second, Maureen.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Review, now I'll really go into the review of annual activities and calendar for the month of June. So 5K, one of the things it says is the 5K race notes, and some of these topics we will cover in our agenda under those normal things. We don't have to get into details here. Just want to call them out so that we know what we're doing. So the 5K, sending out thank you notes for the sponsors and raffles and stuff like that. If it hasn't already been done, it needs to be done. Yes, Maureen?
I want to make sure that Tim Mankey is included in that. Thank you, because of the hand washing station that he provides.
Is this my responsibility? Thank you notes?
We did it last year.
I don't know.
I did it for 2 years, but I can't do it this time.
Okay, and
I got
so-
things going on.
that's all right. Let's figure out how we coordinated it.
So what,
where to get the
okay,
list and
so,
what happened.
last time,
Unless we
well-
want to do that during the 5K recap, you want to take them.
well, no,
Okay.
there's a list of donors, right?
I have a list of donors, but I need the, everybody else that.
Yeah, everybody that gave, like a basket,
The
or whatever,
sponsors,
the
the baskets,
sponsors or
the
whatever.
baskets, yeah.
So I got a list from Lisa and I got a list from, well, Fiona and Anna. And then I sent them out. I wrote a form letter and then I just changed the
Did
heading
you
for each
email
person.
or did
No, I named letters.
you did them
to
by
everyone.
hand? Okay. All right.
Well,
Mail merge.
Printed them?
I printed
Printed them and mailed them, yeah.
Does Lisa have thank you cards? I thought she said she did, that she had library.
Well, we
No.
do have thank you cards, but I don't know if they're what you're gonna want for this, for the sponsors and because they're not really, they're more for people that make, donations more, like small donations or. I can get you the list, but I won't be able to do it till beginning of next week. For all the prizes.
Doesn't matter, it's okay.
And then we do have some of the sponsors, I sent a note with them because we wanted to get their banners back to them. And they had t-shirts, so I did put a note and I'll let you know which ones I did, so you don't have to duplicate those.
Okay, here's the problem. I'm leaving for Ireland next Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
so can I do these when I get back, or do they have to be done beforehand?
No, fine.
So,
I just did it fast because I have a lot
well, and
going on.
it's nice to
You
do
can
it
do it
fast,
like,
because you have
You
stuff
know,
happening.
come
but-
back in 2 weeks, it's not a big deal. I don't think.
But is there a list that's easy to set up? Do we have other volunteers that can help send it right?
I can send it out.
Do you still have the form letter, Christine?
What?
Do you still have the form letter that you had set up?
I
Probably
can
have
put
it.
one together, that's all
I
right.
usually,
I'll
you
put-
know, I thank you, blah, 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 for your
Right,
and each one I changed to the
Right,
person, like
yeah.
how much they gave and who
Yeah.
it was,
If
yeah.
it's in Word, we can set up a mail merge off the Excel sheet. With fields
You're
in the
talking
form
like
letter.
a retired.
Okay, you know, sure.
Okay.
I get it, but
So
it was a lot less of a hassle.
So what we need the list of addresses,
Yeah.
and we need,
Send them to you.
a sample of the thank you letter, Pauline.
Okay, I'll send you the list and the sample letter, but we need, I don't know who gave what, so aside
can-
from money.
Yeah, I can, I will have that list, but that's the one I can't have till next Monday.
Okay.
But
And
I
you can
can,
send me.
yeah, who
or
should I
that.
send? Do you want me to send it to Pauline or who am I sending it to?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I can do that, Pauline. And I
Yeah.
can let you know, I can let you know which sponsors are all set with as well. There's some that were all done. You don't have to re-thank them.
Okay,
Okay, and Lisa, I would ask that you send it to Pauline, Pam, and me, just, it's better, because who knows where everybody's gonna be next
Sure.
year.
Yep, I
So
can do
it's
that.
nice to have Something, to follow through and know what's happening.
you were
Pauline,
Sure.
thank you for that.
I can
Lisa,
do that.
thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Then at least we have a, framework going forward. Okay, committee assignments, we do have the printouts, some printouts that you can sign if you didn't already sign and bring some in that, Maureen had sent out earlier, and that's your, request for committee assignments that won't actually happen until October of next year. But we don't normally have, board meetings in June and, in July and August. So at our annual meeting in September, we'll ask you to,
I have hard copies here of the nomination forms, if
unless you
anybody.
have them now, so,
Yeah, I'll just.
so if you've read them before, you've got them, otherwise we'll spread them around, and if there's questions, we'll get to that before the end of the evening.
Yes.
Annual meeting, it's in September, it would be on our regular meeting night, for those of you that are new, we have some people that are just barely made it, and some that still haven't been here for a full year, when it comes to the annual meeting. What we normally do is it's on our normal meeting night, and we start with business meeting, and then we move into the annual meeting at 7 o'clock. So our business meeting is our meeting, to conclude whatever business we have to do. And then we go into our open meeting, and that's when we elect the officers for the next year. To be an officer on the Board of Trustees, you need to be in a corporate position, not a town appointed position. However, if you're in a town appointed position and you think you're interested at some point to become an officer, I would like to know that, because we can move people around from town to corporate as positions open. So it's always good to know if that's something that you might be interested in. Even if you don't feel ready right now, if it's something that you think you could be interested in later, that helps us for planning. So certainly give that a look. call it out. And then, we didn't get a date for staff appreciation. I know, Lisa spoke to staff. And, they were thinking they would like to do a restaurant event again where we can have a separate area. Maybe someplace different. So we'll have to look into, what's possible. One of the names that came up is the Casa Doro that just opened, on the Berlin Turnpike. Which used to be Bertucci's if you're trying to figure out which restaurant where, what.
It's nice, but it's very loud.
So,
Do they have a
Is there
separate?
a separate room though?
But it's not really separate, it's like
Mm.
we were there, but it's part of the whole.
They don't
place.
have the room you can close off like.
Yeah,
We would
Bertucci's
need
did.
a separate area,
Yeah,
I think.
it's like,
well, so, we'll communicate with staff a little bit more, and I think they said the end of September, beginning of October works best for them. So again, we kind of leave it a little bit loose at this point, because when you find a venue or suggested venue, we check in the pricing, we check accommodations, we check scheduling, right? One of the reasons we don't have it end of November, beginning of December is because forget about getting a venue at that point, right? It's too crowded. So we'll look into that and go forward, see what's happening. I'm sure in September we'll have enough time to, approve monies for that. Let's see. That's what I have on my, activities calendar as it comes through. Treasurer's report, Leanne Mackey.
I sent out the report the other day. We have in our current TD checking with unrestricted funds, there's a current balance of $81,206.55. That does include the final distribution from the Johnson Trust bequest, which was $32,500. That totaled out to $155,000 of unrestricted funds that came in, and what is not that $155,000 that is completely unplanned for. What we had actually heard originally was gonna be 98, but with the market change since the deaths, the value of the estate had improved, so we're very grateful for that, but that's the last distribution, so that closes out that particular bequest, and that will be, the monies will be moved around to the Kingston funds this month before fiscal year end. TD money market restricted funds is at $49,573.05. The money market and the non-investment account, which is unrestricted at Kingston, is at $428,143.74. The unrestricted and restricted investment funds combination is at $427,483.02. And the George Kane endowment it has been separate for about 4 months now, is currently at $428,374.10. The restricted, unrestricted is outlined at May 31st, and the Hooker endowment, which the baseline is at $342,898.12. As of May 31st, where the market has improved, and we are at $383,629.07. So there is substantial above principal investment there that can be moved over to unrestricted. As I mentioned, the Donald and Violet Johnson Trust is complete now, and that totaled out to $155,000, which we're very grateful for. All bills are paid. Fiscal year end is June 30th. I would ask that if you have any outstanding bills or reports or anything that have to be funded through treasurer, if you would please get them to me before June 30th, so I can have a nice set of clean books to close. And I also want to throw something out, which we can talk about in the race, but we did use PayPal for the race. We also borrowed the tablet from the Friends, and the usage was substantially more with the Friends tablet versus PayPal. And I think we need to consider perhaps investing in a Square. It just seems to be what people are more interested in, but that's a discussion for another day, but I want to throw it out there for some thought. And that's what I have.
Thank you, Leanne. Any questions for Leanne?
Well, but one last thing, the race fine, I don't have the final numbers on the race because I just got the last check from online and I'm still waiting. And I got the race, the transfer of the monies for the tablet from the Friends. And I have some Visa expenses same day that have to go in, but I will have that and I will put that out for June.
Okay. Thank you. Library Director's Report, Lisa Maston.
Okay, so Karen and I were talking about what we did. It didn't seem like very much, but then we realized we had a book sale and race in the same month, so we did a lot. But so I just wanted to, let's see, we applied for a grant and it looks promising from the Hartford Foundation to increase and promote services for people who don't, whose English is their second language. Michelle has a Let's Talk program and we're trying to expand it, not only programming, but some of our materials that we can offer as well. So she did get a grant to add some money to that. It will allow us to increase the collection, but also bring in some specific programs to this audience. So we're just waiting on the final letter. Our summer reading programs, they kick off next week. The adult program kicks off on Tuesday, the 17th. It's an all-day drop-in program. Usually we get about 250 people that show up on that day. And the children and teens will kick off on Friday. I think it's the 20th. We are going to close a little early to allow the children and teens to set up for the program. I think we're closing at 3 or 4. I'll let you know. I can't remember now what they asked, but I said we could close a little bit early because they have to move some stuff around. And the program, I believe, starts at 5:30, so it doesn't give them a lot of time. And this year's theme is Level Up at the Library, and it's like a game theme. It's not, board games, outdoor games, gaming, that kind of thing. Just a reminder to everybody that Thursday nights are the summer concert series at Mill Pond. So parking is at a premium. So as like with meetings, we don't do very much programming at all on Thursday nights. We have the family story time, but other than that, we're really not doing much. We do have Dave Brown does monitor the parking lot to ensure we have parking for that program. But other than that, we don't do as much. It's for June and July, and then they move to the center of town for the August program. The children the staff in the children's department and the teen librarians visited most of the schools. I think all the elementary schools were visited, and one middle school was visited in person. The other middle school requested more like virtual visits to promote summer reading. So they hit all of the schools. It's pretty time and labor intensive, but they also enjoy it a lot because to get kids revved up for the programs this summer. And the library is part of the consortium that we're in. We are going to migrate to a new ILS, which is the Integrated Library System. And that's the software and the databases that house all of our collections and patron information. And the public catalog that you would all use to request and look to see what we have, that's all going to be upgraded and changed over the next probably 18 months. They're starting that whole process. It's pretty labor intensive on the back end, but it's going to be hopefully a better user experience for the public and for staff as well. So that's process is starting to begin as well. And that's it.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions for Lisa?
I just wanted to bring up, just want to bring up the fact Lisa, must have been my kid's middle school that the library had went to, because my daughter came home with the pamphlet and she was all excited about the summer reading program.
Yeah, it probably was. It probably was, Chris. Yep.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, success. Any other comments? Questions? No? Thank you, Lisa. Assistant Director Karen Benner.
So we also applied for a grant from the Hartford Foundation for 10 upgraded hotspots. We just submitted the application last week, so don't know what the outcome is yet, but what we're hoping for is that this will be approved for a 2-year time period. They're still getting a lot of use. We've had a couple that have gone missing. So we're waiting for that and are excited about that. At one point, we mentioned that, we had a circulation substitute, Linda DeLitowicz, who is going to be retiring. She's been a sub here a long time. She probably, what do you think, Lisa, over 9 years, I think. She is, her son has had his first grandchild, so.
Son.
Right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
But she's really gonna be missed. She especially just has risen to the occasion so many times. During COVID, we really relied heavily on her and stuff, so. Anyway, we will be filling that position. That's a circulation substitute position. Also the permanent part-time circulation position, that opening closed last Thursday. We are going to be getting the applications tomorrow, and so we'll begin to go through them and make arrangements to interview. Probably next week sometime. And lastly, I believe last month Lisa had mentioned that, we had been approved for CIP funds, so I'm going to be starting to work on that for the new self-check systems, after July 1st, with some other staff and IT as well as our vendors, so that's really exciting. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Karen. Anyone have questions for Karen? Thank you. Getting all excited hearing no questions. Moving right through this. Next is Friends of the Library, Phil.
Well, we're, trying to recover from the last sale. And start getting ready for the next one. We're, getting some pretty significant donations.
Great.
That, we had something with the Avery Heights. They gave us this huge donation just before the sale. But they said they had more, and I said, please hold them. They gave them, so we got, there was like 3 bins full of books from them. So we're, working on getting ready for the next one. We're getting ready for the, annual meeting. That's pretty much most of what's going on.
Super. Any questions for Sheila? Regarding Friends?
Well, we will be trying to do some recruiting at the, we're gonna set a table at the adult, so we can see if we can.
Okay, the adult
Increase the
summer
adult
reading.
friends, and bring in people in there to see if we can get some more friends too.
Ask again, any questions for Sheila at this point? No? All right, thank you. Next up is committee reports, budget is as it's been. Planning, evaluation and policy, Pauline Cook.
Yep, I'm getting the stuff. I have the 3 from the library that we discussed the previous meeting and
Policies.
right. And that's coming down. And it did a policy for the emeritus. And that's in the packet that's coming down.
Diane,
Yeah,
did you get it?
yeah, that's the last one. Last page. Emeritus. Lonely. The one that I had a little bit of problem with, because I was.
You want to read one or?
It should be one course for one person.
One class. Sometimes it's hard to. Or is that part of the one?
It's one whole packet.
That's perfect, okay.
Is that? That might be something in. What is he? Sorry, I did, I gave you a top page. Okay, so, Pauline, what's going on with these?
Okay, the first 3 are the
the library. So that would be the behavior policy, the review
The
of library
last-
materials.
And the last one is the emeritus.
Want me to pass them down?
No, sure.
That's yours like that.
So the library policies were, Donna talked about last month, and they were also distributed by email. It's just a matter of, there was no, as far as I know, there was no other corrections. So that those three policies are, ready to be authorized by us and to be put into the Mr. Robbins Wells Policy and Procedure Manual.
I know, Pauline, I think I sent some emails, some comments, and I haven't had a chance to look over the most recent one to see.
The most recent one is the one that just came out, the no one.
Okay. As I said, I think I've sent comments on the other policies before.
Were those incorporated? Can you see?
Yes, I have.
We're gonna try to take a vote on this tonight if they were
You had
incorporated.
sent it to me last
Hmm?
month. You had
Yes,
sent
that was,
these-
when you sent it out by email, I sent it.
Right, the ones that Chris sent.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
So the one, the last page is for the emeritus. And I've looked over several, different boards and library boards, other boards and commissions about putting up or setting up a, emeritus position. And I tried to make it a little bit more involved so that it would fit in. Right now, it's we all know each other, we've been on the same committee, but in case we get someone new running the show who might have other ideas. The only question I had was in the election section. I couldn't get the last sentence to be shorter. It's one of those ones that, simple majority vote on a specific day, they would have a court. So when you put all of that in together, I couldn't even really find a place to put a comma.
So is there a specific intent on timing for this? Is this something that?
This is the timing, it just says once a year, and I figured if someone wanted to change the once a year, I would figure the annual meeting, but it could be once a year annually. For someone to appoint someone as emeritus. With regards to serving, the person would serve for 3 years as long as they want to be on there, or they can remove themselves as emeritus anytime they want.
So your last sentence, what are you trying to say?
The criteria for voting. It's a simple majority, we won't have to have like 2/3, it's just a simple majority of the people that is in that meeting at that time,
Okay, put
as
it,
long as there's a quorum.
what if you put a period after meeting and then start with a quorum?
Where are you? In the last,
Last sentence. Say a quorum,
Present at,
a quorum must be present to
To
approve an
the appointment.
appointment, yeah.
okay, and so at this point, we're saying there's, we review this once a year, but there's not a specific time that it's.
Time, no.
One of the things that might be nice is if somebody moves into an emeritus position, that they're recognized at the annual meeting, so it would be nice if it was done before an
Okay.
annual meeting, right?
Okay.
It could,
Yeah,
it could be done at any time,
Right.
really, but
so it would be the June meeting,
I would think the June meeting would have the vote for that.
right?
I also think. Well, you've got it annually, so, one time annually, so you're doing it. I'm just thinking that sometimes when people move from one position to another.
Mhm.
Right, life changes and your situation changes and you're.
Right.
You're gonna move off. An announcement at the annual meeting makes it a nice presentation.
Right.
Doesn't have to be
Right.
in that time.
So that's why I said, didn't want to lock us in to an annual meeting.
Well, right, and my thought to add on to that is, one of the reasons we don't wanna do it is because you don't wanna bring it up at an annual meeting, and then it either is or isn't passed, and
Passed,
then it
yeah.
goes through. It would be nicer to say, we'd like to recognize this person has moved to an emeritus position as part of the annual meeting, rather than trying to vote on it there.
Yes.
I just have some corrections here.
Yeah.
Under eligibility.
Yep.
Capitalize board member emeritus. And then for each point, take the capital letter off the first word, because you have a colon there.
Okay.
Also in the last paragraph. Do you want to reread that?
Yeah,
So that-
as we corrected it?
Yep.
Okay, annually with the recommendation of the board that should be capitalized. Board nominating committee. The library board of trustees will consider potential candidates and may nominate one or more individuals. I don't think you need the numeral.
Okay.
And again, board emeritus position, board emeritus needs to be capitalized.
Mhm.
The library board of trustees will, by a simple majority vote of trustees, I would put a comma after that.
After trustees.
Yeah, present at a meeting, period.
Mhm.
A quorum must be present to approve an appointment. Does that work?
Would there be a comma
Yeah.
after will though? The library board of
Mhm.
trustees will, comma, by.
You
simple
could,
majority vote
yeah,
of
you
trustees
could,
present,
yeah.
comma.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
So did you get all your punctuation right at the bottom of that? 'Cause
Yeah.
mine is a mess.
So we don't wanna put any type of time period, we just wanna have an unofficial aspect of it, being we're going to do it prior to a September annual meeting.
meeting, yeah, would be,
Or we could say, and they would be recognized at the next annual meeting.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And
It
the
would
only
be-
reason I just don't want it to get lost in like all of a sudden in July, everybody's scrambling and trying to, figure it
and where
out.
would you like that, put in, under the election, the, I'm not.
Newly appointed emeritus members will be recognized at the following, at the next annual meeting. Sure.
That sounds good, yeah.
Oh, present.
No, I think election, and then maybe upon election,
Recognition.
Recognition will
Yeah,
occur at the
recognition,
next, at the next annual meeting.
yeah.
Academy. Oh, wow, okay. Folks.
Can somebody remind me why we wanna do this? What's the need?
Wait, before that.
Before we go on to that,
We're still in this
we're
last.
still in that
Oh,
sentence.
I'm sorry.
Because now it reads, the library board of trustees will, by simple majority vote of trustees present at a meeting, period.
Yeah,
Well,
there's a.
That's where,
Well,
that's where the problem
Wait
occurred,
a
if I
minute.
tried putting
Yeah,
something in.
it isn't a sentence anymore.
Yeah.
Wait, okay. The library board of trustees will, by a simple majority vote,
The
Majority of trustees.
will
present at the
decide,
meeting.
will determine, or will decide.
yeah, we need a verb.
There's a
Will
verb
appoint.
after will.
Will appoint, because we're talking about.
Will
appointment.
appoint by a
Yes.
simple majority.
Yep. Will appoint by a simple majority vote of trustees.
All we
Now-
do really is change the is to be.
Or,
The library board of trustees will, by a simple majority vote of the trustees present at a meeting at which a quorum is present, be sufficient to approve an appointment. Change the is to a be, and you're all set.
Read that again.
The library board of trustees will, by a simple majority vote of trustees present at a meeting at which a quorum is present, be sufficient to approve an appointment.
Yeah, that's,
That's it.
isn't that,
And you just put the commas in a certain spot just to kind of.
And make-
Yeah.
is to be, the second is.
Yeah,
You were there.
I know.
Okay.
All right. And then the comment about the recognition.
The recognition of your paragraph,
Yeah,
newly appointed emeritus position will be announced at the annual meeting.
Could I just, maybe the cleaned up copy get resent out to the group and then
Oh, yeah.
we just, and then just maybe, just say, hey, any final comments? forever, some older piece type thing before it gets all approved. We're kind of looking at it on the fly.
I could do that tonight before I go to bed. Because it's on my Word document, it's not gonna change to worry about. Any other capitalizations in the definition section?
No, just when you do recognition, make sure you do emeritus. The emeritus.
Yeah.
captions that.
Got that in there.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
And the board consistently.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one, a board member emeritus in the first paragraph.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
In reference to the board, like under election. Board should be capitalized as well.
And we're getting rid of all numerals, this is three.
Not giving the Roman numerals, but, making it a small.
In the first paragraph, it says shall serve three.
Parentheses,
Three.
Three, we'll get rid of the three, okay.
Okay, are we good? This is beginning to feel like a committee meeting. This is good.
Maybe ask why.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't recall what the need was that were to this point. Somebody could remind me.
I think, go ahead.
I think the
What that-
purpose is to, allow members who can't or have been on the board, for instance, for a long time, who want to still contribute, but don't want, they understand that they would be giving up their voting rights. You know, it's, an emeritus position would, I envision it as it could be a mentoring position to new members or even to existing members. When I first joined the board in '03, we had an emeritus board member. I think, but I don't think we had a policy. It was Dr. Kurlansky, do you know him?
Oh, yeah.
And,
He was president when I was on.
oh, okay,
My-
he was a
my
regular
first-
board member. When, was
was
he
the president
president?
of the board.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I came on, he was an emeritus member, and it just never occurred to me to question his emeritus status. I understood what emeritus meant, and I thought, what a wonderful thing. And then when he left, we never had another person do that. And in my history on this board, I can think of a lot of people that would have been valuable as emeritus members. And again, they have the leeway to attend every meeting or certain meetings. They would, get the minutes and stuff so they could, and an agenda, so they could see what was going on. I think it's a nice thing to have, and I think it's probably a de rigueur in a lot of corporate boards. So, anyway, that's
Thank you.
my thought.
Anyone else have questions or thoughts on this? No? Discussed previously? Okay, do we want to make an amendment to, I think maybe we should do the policies all together as written or separate altogether?
I ask somebody else.
So I would entertain a motion, if anybody wants to make a motion, you can decide they're all together or separate, however you want to do it.
That would not include the emeritus or it would.
We were
I
gonna,
think we should keep it clean. We should have the library policies and then we should have the board policy.
Oh, okay, all right.
But we can do all, you can make the motion to approve the 3 library policies.
I will make a motion to accept the 3 library policy
As updated, yeah.
updates that we have received.
A second.
30 seconds.
All in favor?
Opposed?
Thank you.
Any opposed? Sorry. You weren't saying you're opposed? Pauline?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfectly willing. Lisa has
I
done a
just
good
wanted,
job.
I thought I understood where you were coming from, but anybody listening in to this recording at some future time, hearing you say opposed, might have been confused. So, no one's opposed. Passes, unanimously in the room.
So the emeritus policy will be resent to us in a clean
Copy.
version, and then when would we,
I think we can vote on it now as amended. That's what we do with our minutes.
and just,
Yeah, unless there's a major problem, I'll send out the thing, and if there's a major problem, we'll go in.
I mean, I.
So the only change that I see beyond grammatical errors was the intent to say recognize, right?
Right.
On there,
And that will be
recognize.
put in as another.
So that
paragraph.
addition is on there.
Yeah.
Everything else that we mentioned in here are commas and capitalizations.
Yeah.
It's not the intent of the policy. So if
Right.
you're comfortable with that,
Okay, this is Maureen. I make a motion that we accept the library board member emeritus policy with the noted changes.
I'll second this first round.
okay. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on. Thank you, Pauline and PEP committee for working on that. Very much needed and appreciated. Investment committee, Kelly DeHaas.
So we are back in the black on all the accounts.
I like that, Tony. Except that for the reference that we weren't in the black before.
We were not, we took a hit before, but we are above and beyond where we started for the year, so we're looking good. I did talk to Dean earlier today, so we will get the income movement from Hooker all squared away, but it's not quite there yet. I'm thinking that maybe I have him start it for July, so we'll start the new fiscal year on a clean slate.
Yeah.
Instead of messing you up in June. But otherwise, I think we're looking pretty good. Leanne and I, as she mentioned, are working to try to get things clean and organized and easy to read for everyone.
Super. Any questions for Kelly? Yeah. Thank you. House committee, that would be me. We're doing well in the house overall. The mold has been contained and cleaned up. It was, the last time. You might have noticed we've got a small amount of progress in that those old curtains have been removed. We're in the process of getting, the new curtains, but we couldn't do anything until we have the old curtains off and have the hardware for that to look at it and what have you. So,
That's my summer project.
well, what were you gonna do when you canned it in the books? You have to have something to do with your night. As that goes on. So, we are looking good. We continue to have a few things for, work orders that are out, but those come up periodically. I have not done anything on the plexiglass, like liner that I want for the stairwell. We were gonna, look into that, but as you said, between the book sale and the 5K race, everything else going on around here, we had other demands on our time. That's what I have for our house committee. Anybody have questions, comments, things that they've seen or the change? No? Thank you. Facility and site, Christopher Riley.
All right, well, since our last board meeting, I've got a few things that occurred since then. As Kim was talking about before, and Dave were talking about the May 13th, the permanent municipal building committee ordinance. Was reviewed at the public hearing with comments by town council, and then the vote followed, and as was mentioned by Dave, it had passed. They had revised it to specify the library director and assistant library director as ex officio members. So we do thank you for that change on that. Following that, May 22nd, we had a LARC meeting, but we did not have a quorum, so we couldn't vote on anything. That didn't seem to matter too much at this specific meeting with the agenda. Only thing we could have potentially voted on was the meeting minutes from the previous meeting. So we tabled that till the next meeting.
What's the date of the next meeting? Sorry to.
I believe it's June 26th, isn't it? I keep looking at the calendar.
Missing and more.
we're gonna be missing Eric and Lauren during that,
For the
so.
meeting, so, I would,
I wouldn't tell them.
Did you have a quorum?
I do not know if we would have a quorum or not, so that was kind of a question about the next meeting. I kind of wanted to keep us momentum going, but I also know, if there's not much, that can be voted on, other than just more discussions. So I think that still needs to be decided as far as, whether, for the next meeting or not. Because I know, as I said, Eric and Lauren did mention that they wouldn't be there, but if we did get a quorum, that they would, allow us to still have it, so. Anyways, get back to the May 22nd meeting. They gave us an update on the structural assessment of the original building. They said it was progressing well. They were able to examine a lot of the areas that they needed to without destroying or cutting holes or doing stuff to the library. They were able to, get into the ceiling, get into a crawl space underneath. I don't know if I'd want to go under a crawl space, but that's, they were able to examine a lot of that stuff. So they're progressing along pretty well on that, from my understanding on that. Working towards a report on that. One of the other things I mentioned too was about the transfer of funding, which occurred on May 27th, which you mentioned, Kim. Which brings the LARC funding to be just over 40,000 with the 8,400 that we had previously. So that's going to be used to support further reviews of design concepts and go from there. On June 3rd, we had a grant meeting with Sonia. It was an actual grant meeting, and she provided a lot of good guidance. I know she just sent out an email kind of detailing a lot of the information we had about potential avenues to approach for grants for example, the Churchill door. We had asked questions about the electric sign out front. And just as I said, just kind of some of the general current needs, maintenance that, that the library, information, stuff that we would need.
Smaller projects, we'll call them.
Yeah, smaller projects. And then, I think she kind of gave back to us, some homework as well, just to kind of, provide her with numbers and stuff so that she can go forward and approach some people on that. And the final thing that I have is, tomorrow night, I have a combined facility and site communication, meeting scheduled. It's strictly virtual, over Zoom. Room availability this week has been kind of tough. The plan for that meeting is really to kind of hit two agenda items, and it may just be like a kickoff start meeting really of discussing, what the message we want to communicate for the library expansion will be, and everything, so that we can get a strong, concise message that we can present at future events. If we're going to go in front of, other organizations, businesses, kind of getting the word out, as well as potentially discussing any survey questions to reach the larger community for their needs. My thought on that was just the fact that, okay, you want to see what, library resources people are currently using, but it's also to reach the people like we were told at the town council meeting in February, reach the people who don't use the library and show, hey, here's a list of all the various things that, the library provides. And they're like, oh, you guys provide this, you guys provide this. Maybe, get the interest that way is what some of my thoughts were, so. But that'll be tomorrow night. We'll discuss a little bit more on that.
We're gonna get the link.
The Zoom, it was sent out by Lisa.
Yeah, got it.
Oh, I didn't get it.
Are you on either the facilities or the,
I sent her the distribution list for both committees, so you should have gotten that.
well, would it come from Lisa, not the TON?
Yeah. Yeah, Lisa sent it. Lisa sent it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's what I have, so just keep trying to move forward.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
I did want to address one thing, and this is kind of jumping into, Anna had sent out an email with a bunch of things. She did identify the,
So let me say, next up is fund development.
well,
Anna's not with us tonight. She sent an email, but Leanne has a few comments.
well, I was coming to the bottom of her email, which it wasn't really fund development so much as, well, it does tie in as the grants. Is that two of the topics that were discussed at the grants was the electronic signage as well as the door. So those
The
are
Churchill door.
the Churchill door in the front. So we are looking at grants for those as well.
Okay. Any other questions, any thoughts, any other thoughts on fund development or anything at this point? No? Thank you. Nominations, Maureen Lyons.
I have your report. You all received my email with the nomination forms. I've received some. They're in your email. I passed out hard copies tonight. So give it consideration as to which committees you would like to be on, if you'd like to chair any. Everybody's on the race committee. And we also, for corporate members, there are 2 items for the corporate members, if you're interested in having an officer position to indicate that. And if the Board of Trustees list was included with the nominating form, and your term expiration dates are listed. So if your term is expiring soon, and you wish to continue, also indicate that on the nominating form. And you can email them to me, or if you're so inclined, give them to me tonight, and we work on it over Diane. Well, the executive committee works on the committee assignments over the summer, and then the nominations and voting are announced at the annual meeting. And that's it, pretty cut and dried.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of put this under nominations, but maybe it belonged under fund development. I did want to put forward a name as a possible, potential honoree for nominations during the course of our annual meeting. I know that we have the legacies and things like the Johnson or whatever, but there are those who, I guess what I'd call unsung heroes, and a lot of you folks don't know it. I see it because the treasurer checks come in, but there's one particular group, that over the years has been extremely supportive, called Dharma Drum. And, I did a quick compilation last September to come up with it. Some of the, treasurer's records have some holes in it over the years, but as of that point, their contributions are increments of $50 and $75 every time, but they're closing in on $3,000 over time. They're pretty regular, every couple of months, they send in money, and it's just kind of an unsung hero, if you will.
Who are they?
They come from a personal checking account, but it's been basically 2 individuals. They're probably the treasurers for the group. It's called Dharma Drum. And, I guess they use the facility.
They do.
But, they're very good about acknowledging that and thanking us for it with a financial contribution. So that would be someone that I would recommend that potentially I can get an up to date, because it's, like I said, it's every couple of months they make a contribution.
So we'll cover that under annual meetings, but that's the type of thing, if there's other things going on, that you want,
Okay.
that you think of that should be, recognized, right? Other people as they come up. Communications, well, that's it for nominations, right? For positions and stuff, right? So then we'll go into communications. George, come on.
Chris kind of touched on it, but tomorrow we're gonna meet on the strategy, what we're gonna do for concerning your library, kind of our kickoff meeting. And one of our goals is to kind of develop a survey to get these people who are, don't know about services or just don't want to use the services, kind of get out there and ask them what do you want to look forward to with your new library? What kind of potential do you see there? And that's kind of what tomorrow is going to start off with and the kickoff. So anybody who wants to, then aside from just like committee members is welcome to, but that's what tomorrow is going to be the focus of.
Okay, and that meeting starts at 7, right?
Yeah, 7 up virtual. If anybody wants to jump on, it's not in those committees, let me know. It's on your way.
And we're keeping it to about an hour, as I said. I'm imagining that this is just gonna be the first of,
Yes.
meetings, but I wanna kind of start getting the thoughts and start getting the stuff going, so we have something to talk about.
Yeah, kick off an hour, I think that should cover it.
Okay, great. Super, thank you. Any questions or thoughts on that? But you can't wait till tomorrow? Hey, you never know. Okay, moving on to old business, so, Newington Library 5K, road race. I think Anna said it in her email, and I do think that it was, a beautiful day. We lucked out in the weather. I will take a rotten Saturday and a lovely Sunday every day now for these races. That's perfectly fine with me. The weather worked out. I think everything worked out with the race. The Mark the Shark DJ was excellent.
Yeah, he was
very
good.
fantastic. Yeah, look at that. For those of us that were, standing around waiting, it was nice. It was nice to have Bill Rogers here. He's such a, really, he's very outgoing and personable, but just his achievements are just so incredible. It's nice every time he comes here and comes back home, if you will, to Newington as that goes on. There were a few things that we could improve upon. One of the things that we seem to run into issues with is the little sprinters and the adults that have run the race and now need to go on with their days, and they're thinking that they're gonna get to the parking lot and pull out, right? And the parking lot means the library parking lot, the town hall parking lot, the police station parking lot, the bus station parking lot, and the problem is that there's no way to get out within, in a certain time frame without either running into the slow runners, fast walkers, or the little sprint folks. So we're on site, next year, we're gonna say, if you're parking in any of these lots, be aware that you won't be able to get your car out of this lot until, the little sprinters race is over. Cause that's pretty much, that starts at 9:45, over by 10, that's an hour for the thing. Usually we have straggler walkers or stuff, but we don't have serious heads down runners that are thinking that the road is more theirs. So we're gonna advertise that, cause that's just a hairy situation, especially while the little sprinters are going. It's crazy. They have a great time and it's the cutest thing in the world, but we need to, be able to keep them safe. And, we still have problems with traffic and with, police officers, and we might have to figure out something, because it's nice that they come and they help us out, but if they get called away, we suddenly have a big gap. So, we're very grateful for the folks from CERT, from the Radio League and everybody else that comes and helps, keep us safe as we go on with that. One other thing, and I understand that more than one person heads this, but, sometimes the first person in the line doesn't get all the turns correctly. So somebody made a suggestion that maybe we should chalk the road, right, where there's a turn and then when they loop around and stuff. So maybe we have to figure that out, look at the race and figure out where it is. Two bad things, right? If the first one goes the wrong way, then everybody goes the wrong way. But usually the first one is a serious runner and their time is important to them. So if we can, make sure that if there's a crazy turn or timeframe that we have that. What was the street that happened on? Remember? We'll look at the race. We'll look at the path.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We'll look at the path and make sure that happens. Cause I talked to last year's runner and similar thing happened. That person was also a Newington native, so, if our own folks don't, they're in the group, so anything we can do to make it easier, so much the better, as that goes on. Any other thoughts that people had that they could see for improvements? I know we wanna recognize, Tim for bringing the, sanitation thing.
I mean, maybe it was just my perspective, because most of my day was spent with, Bill Rogers. But I think the next time we have like a celebrity there and everything like that, it might be good to have, I'll say, two people there. Maybe one to kind of help with Bill Rogers and one to kind of maintain the line. That was one of the issues I kept running into, and initially at first I had someone, go right up, cut ahead of other people, just because they were so excited to meet him and everything, and then another time, but I got the hang of it towards the end of the day, but it was still, it'd be easier if there was another person just to be able to handle maybe the line and, maybe another person to, if Bill needs water or something else.
No, we never have that, right?
Yeah, I have new appreciation for when I go to my comic book conventions and the lines there.
I worked, in food during, distribution, and, one of the things that, we had the fruit cups this year. I would suggest if we can get more, they were gone before half of the racers were back. They were a bigger hit than the, the actual fruit pieces. And so that, and the oranges, we had a lot left over. The bananas went before the oranges.
Yeah, we have to cut down on the oranges.
So I would suggest if we can, and I know that they're provided by, by someone giving them to us but if we could get more of those, the kids who really wanted them were the ones who didn't get them because they came in after.
And the other thing about the food, and one of our new volunteers mentioned this about cross-contamination. When, we follow all the health department rules and we're gloved, etc. And the food's properly stored, covered, but, she mentioned that when we're cutting the bagels, that some people might have allergies. Her daughter apparently has allergies to raisins, and we had the cinnamon raisin bagel. So we were using, for instance, a knife that may have cut an everything bagel with the cinnamon raisin bagel. So just a minor thing to consider that, we're aware of that the knives, the utensils, are separate, and
We didn't have enough donuts and they were told that.
the donuts go quickly because they're appealing, but
Yeah.
that donut donation is,
It's pretty significant.
Yeah.
it's 10 dozen.
Yeah,
And,
there were angry parents because their kids didn't get donuts.
Yeah.
well, the donut, nothing that was ever planned, that was an afterthought.
But the
When,
donuts aren't guaranteed. That's the other thing you gotta remember. And, it's first come, first serve at a race. You can't please everybody.
Well, I think the problem came from the line, because the line was not a line, it was just a
chaos.
chaos.
Yeah.
People
Right.
were planning to grab donuts. And one man in particular had a little kid and he was standing off to the side and he was angry because his kid didn't get a donut. So, we need, maybe
know
if
what?
we figured out some line.
Well-
Can we maybe separate, so it's not like all grouped in one place, so then you can have 4 lines and each line has
Right.
a little bit of each selection, so you have 4 people going through, you don't have
I
like one
think they
line grabbing
register
it.
early. First 100 people get a donut, the first 200 people get a donut. The first 300 people get.
But if the donuts aren't guaranteed, then we don't want to promise.
Yeah,
them.
I think
I'm
Lisa's point,
being silly.
the donuts are not guaranteed. When we first had Dunkin' Donuts as our bagel vendor, and they donated the bagels, at some point, they just threw the donuts in. We never asked for those. That was a
I think they
bonus.
switched them. They switched them.
We had both.
We had both from them.
We had both. We had the bagels and then they threw donuts in.
Okay.
And then they stopped donating the bagels. So I'm loath to say to them, oh, you only gave us 10 dozen, donuts. How about 20?
No,
I think we should, it's a first come, first served basis, whether it's a bagel, a donut, an orange.
We don't
And-
promise they're going to get
No.
certain food.
And I don't
We're gonna
think that's
provide
the issue. I think the issue is the line,
Yeah.
Well,
because people are just plowing in.
Need to manage the lines.
Yeah, and we need, and some kids were touching donuts.
We're trying to keep them
Yeah.
away from it.
So
So
I
we
don't
need to
think
have a
it's,
line.
yeah, we need
I
to
wonder,
have
I think we need to split
organized
it up a
line.
little bit
Yeah.
too, so it's like not all the bananas are in one place, not all the donuts
Well,
are
we
in one place,
put it
because then
all
I think
ahead of-
people are trying to
just
get to
have
the
to
front,
be ready
and
to
people
go have,
have even
donut, bagel, bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
alternated.
maybe we can split it up and do
Well,
sides.
But they're not here.
Yeah, right,
Well, even if we just separated the table.
Yeah.
and you have a line on each table.
So next year we'll have donut police and we'll figure it out. And
I'll do it.
George has a point. Maybe we should go to King Donut and see if they'll donate.
Who?
King Donut. They're over on the corner of, across from the old Fred's, they're Yanni's.
Oh, yeah.
On corner Stoddard.
But they're in and out of business, I've been reading about them. They were closing and then they stayed open and then, well, we'll worry about it.
I'll just
I
police
think
the
that
donuts.
next year. Yeah.
I will carry them around and I'll
decide who gets.
Yes,
You know what, and
Okay, we've got another suggestion, or I suggestion, go ahead.
On Sunday, my son participated in West Hartford, 5K race. But there's this company, I know that they're new, they did a heart mob at the Hartford my wife works at, but they're called Nothing Bunt Cake.
Oh, yeah.
But
They're
they,
at West Farms.
I can't, there had been like over 100 like cupcake boxes thrown all over the place at the West Hartford race. So maybe we could approach them, because I know that they're trying to penetrate and expand the market for themselves. So.
Do they have mini bundt cakes or?
Yeah, they're little cupcakes.
Yeah.
No bigger than
That's
that.
what I thought.
Yeah, and
They're like
like,
single serve.
they had the icing on top, and then they had very decadent.
We might have
Well, that
some
ought
road
to
trip just
appeal to
make
the
sure.
sweet tooth.
They're over by Trader Joe's. I've seen that. place.
Yeah, over near the West Farms Gallery.
And Diane, just probably, the other thing that we kept hitting, and I think people would have had bagels if we had the cream cheese.
Yeah.
And they were just, they would look, grab it, and they go, where's the cream cheese? And then
But
Yeah.
we can't get cream, it's $1 a package, I mean, for
No,
cream
no,
cheese.
but
You know,
maybe,
there's,
you know, the donuts and the little mini
Bun cake.
bun cakes or something, because there's no point in, I mean, we gave them out to a shelter. There's really no point in us doing that if.
They don't.
Yeah.
eat.
well, and or we can
We could cover
approach
that.
somebody to
Or
donate
sure, no,
the cream
donate
cheese.
to-
You know, there are other, I think that the carbohydrate piece is more appealing to the runner. Let's face it, I'm sure there are a lot of adults that enjoy the donuts, but the children are the ones that are
Yeah, but you're right.
gravitating.
I like the idea of possibly approaching somebody to donate the individual,
And if we don't have a sponsor, we don't have them, because it is a pain, it is expense. For those tubes, like Lisa said, they're $1 a piece, and every time somebody grabs a donut, they grab one of those things, so it's a couple of dollars that they're going there.
right.
So if somebody wanted to sponsor, say, $100 worth of whatever, and then they're gone, again, it's the same type of thing, they're gone.
Lisa, we
Yeah.
had a question from a patron. Do you remember we received an email, some feedback about the fruit and baggies?
yeah, but yeah, I mean, they were upset that fruit was bagged. I mean, you know, the challenge, like you said, is that you could put the fruit out with tongs. However, if people aren't using tongs and they're just sticking their hands in, which it sounds like that's what people will do, you know, I don't know if they were upset that we used, they thought we should not have them, just put them out and let people take what they want.
I think the simple answer to that is health department.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
The regulations, wise, I
With
wouldn't.
the regulations,
Well,
yeah.
the health department
Okay.
requires.
Let Karen continue.
I just have one question. Were the bananas cut?
Yes.
In half.
Okay, that was one of her points, was, I guess her son was concerned about all of the plastic bags. Remember, Lisa? And-
Yeah, but I
Oh,
mean, the part of the
Yeah.
reason you cut the bananas in half is also cost.
Yeah.
Because whole bananas, you would have to get a lot more than what you're getting.
Do we have to bag a
Yeah, but-
banana?
I'm
Yeah,
not
like-
sure. I think you can serve it outside if you have this.
One conversation
Maybe
here,
we can
guys.
get somebody to donate paper bags.
Remember, we had the little paper ones for the
They didn't like
apples.
those though. They didn't like those. People didn't like what they couldn't see the food.
You get an abundance of
You can't-
oranges,
you can't
but you
please
gave half
everybody.
away.
Everybody's got an opinion.
Yeah.
It'd be better
Yeah.
just to get more bananas
Right, so
and give them
So let
to.
me just quickly review the 5K feedback.
Can Diane, could I add something? I'm gonna bring it up about some of the volunteers. Are you gonna bring that up or you want me to bring it up?
I want you to bring it up, but in a minute after I go
All
through.
right, that's fine. Yep.
So we talked about the parking lot, we have to have a, no parking zone or no, if you need to leave early, park at the senior center kind of note. The chalk path by Audubon and Wilson turn so that we don't lose any of our runners. The note was that the fruit cups were very popular. Oranges, we had too many, so we could use less. Bananas went
Oh,
quickly.
thanks.
First serve, first come,
Thank
first
you.
serve.
I'll use
Maybe
that.
we need some kind of a food line or food police. Donuts are always popular. Maybe we can reach out to King Donuts, for something. Nothing bundt cake might be, possible. Whether or not we continue with bagels or find somebody that can donate, a significant amount of money towards cream cheese. And then, Lisa had something that you wanted to say about volunteers.
Sure, I'm just
Lisa?
gonna, I guess, we've had, a lot of the volunteers that come and help at the race have never worked at a race before. And I think just in general, for people to keep in mind that some people had said people had said a few things, different volunteers, that they were spoken to kind of harshly because they might have been doing something that I don't know if they shouldn't have, or they were told to do something and someone else is telling them to do something else. So I guess I just want to remind everyone that some of these volunteers, they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. And, to hear that they were spoken to harshly was a little upsetting. So I guess that's what I wanted to say.
I think maybe, along those lines, we talked about the food line police and stuff like that, but maybe we also need to have, key people that are in charge of different things. So like we had an issue with t-shirts where we had put some t-shirts aside and put them in a box in this room, and then we were like raffling t-shirts away. And somebody saw the t-shirts in the room and they took out the t-shirts that put aside and raffled them. So, I pretty much handled the t-shirts, but nobody came to say that they pulled those aside and were going out. Not the biggest deal in the world, but I'm just thinking that, we're all board members, we're all here, that's good. We always have extra t-shirts, so I'm not trying to be cheap with the t-shirts or anything, and I think volunteers should get them or however it goes through. But I'm using it as an example. That's something that, came and went, and now, we kind of scrambled a little bit to try to fill in some of the gaps after that. Not a big deal, but just for instance, because that's where, now I know I'm also sometimes busy behind a table or whatever, and it's hard to kind of find me, but you can always, pull me over. And last year I don't know if anybody noticed, but I slipped away, so let Anna and Kevin finish that off.
Where the t-shirts are concerned, that group that Anna had come in, I forgot what they were called,
Oh, the cross-country runners.
maybe
boosters.
they were coming and bringing friends looking for t-shirts, so maybe we could give the t-shirts to them in advance. So
But they weren't
that,
supposed, but we were told they weren't going to get them. That was the challenge.
They weren't
Yeah.
getting shirts, right?
they were
So-
told they weren't gonna get them?
Yep.
Right, so
Oh, I didn't know
just
that.
originally, when it went through,
Yeah,
the basis of running and figuring it out and doing the boosters and what have you. When Anna and Jay came up with the idea, and we've already ordered all the shirts and have the counts and stuff, so this always becomes a question of what are we doing, what are we not doing? And the thought was, we're not, because they had a reduced rate. And they were doing, they were using this as a fundraiser, and it also helps us, this was all a win-win. I'm not saying, that there was anything bad in this. It's all a win-win, so they were gonna use it as a fundraiser. They were gonna wear their own shirts to kind of highlight the fact that they're representing their team and fundraising, as a booster club kind of thing. And the thought was, okay, because there were a couple of other things. There was, George, you had met with, the Fleet Feet runners. And then we were like, uh-oh, if we get a lot of people from here and a lot of people from here that we didn't even know existed or might participate, we can't promise everybody t-shirts. So the agreement was that the booster runners were not getting t-shirts as part of that because it was a reduced thing. Now, what they nicely offered to us was they would use it as a booster, and then depending on how they got monies, that they would then make a donation on top of the low end registration fee that they have for us. So, all things being equal, people like that, I'm happy to have them have t-shirts. But
well, I know that was an issue.
I think that's where the other t-shirts were found and brought out. I don't know. I can't track everything and know what
Bill
was going
said
on.
that they were coming with friends and they wanted t-shirts and they didn't know whether to give them or not. And then they were told they had to give them, so.
So again, maybe we need, I hate to call them captains, but maybe we
Yeah,
need
you do.
captains in a different area. And, whether it's the food and that they're responsible for that and the shirts, and I'll take the hit for the shirts because I know we had, volunteers there, and if that's my area and this got miscommunicated and confusing,
Did the kids know they weren't getting shirts?
I'd have to ask Anna
Yeah.
and Jay Crisell, right? I don't know. And I don't know who approached who where. And it wouldn't surprise me, lots of times you're just so grateful for sponsors. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody asked someone that they said, yeah, sure, we've got extras. Let's, we're happy to, share and go through that. So again, it can be a tense thing. I'll tell you, when we first made t-shirts, you would not believe the craziness. And this is when they were 100% cotton. I mean, I used to have to like put my body over the table and say, you can't take these. You're number 215. You can't get a
Well,
shirt
that's what
yet.
didn't make sense, because you had that as the come on, and then everybody was getting
Right,
shirts.
and when the booster folks signed up, they were above the number 200, so they weren't automatically guaranteed a shirt. So I think it was the idea to increase participation, then it's the idea of, well, we do have shirts left over, but then the other problem is that these are smaller sized individuals.
Mhm.
And we had pulled certain number of shirts at certain sizes for people that, whether it was sponsors or others that needed shirts in those sizes.
Yeah.
And then those sizes were suddenly gone, so we're left with, hi, well, thank you for giving me X number of dollars, and I know you asked for a small and a medium, how about, 3 extra larges?
Yeah.
Right, so, it's how do you make everybody happy? So I don't wanna beat this to death, but, I think if we have captains, and I think if things are handled, politely, or just go up, that it works, so, and we're nowhere without our volunteers and our sponsors, and we're all volunteers, so, just word to the wise, we kind of have to figure it out or find somebody that will go through, and I think we need to have captains, because we can't keep going, Karen and Lisa, and going, hey, Karen and Lisa, hey, Karen and Lisa, because they're gonna go hide. If they know how to preserve themselves, they're gonna go hide. So anything else in the 5K revamp that we think we need to go on, Kim?
Just two things. I think there were, a few of us from the council and kind of council adjacent
Yeah.
that took part. I think maybe one of us ran, wasn't me. The rest of us walked. And we just had a ball. It was, some of us did it last year, and then there were a couple of others that joined us this year. And I know I was pretty much the tortoise to other hares. And when I crossed the finish line, almost dead last, Kelly and whoever else was at the finish line, it was like I was the first one that crossed, and I was winning, and it's like, yeah,
I
I
want
did
music
it.
at the
I did.
finish
I wanted to
line.
collapse and
Give
don't
me
want to take
Bluetooth
Motrin,
speaker.
but
Yeah,
it
I
was
was gonna say,
great.
we might have
There
to
was
do
so
that.
much enthusiasm, but we had a great time, so. There were always glitches, and as you're talking about this, I'm thinking of Sheila, and when we as on the Friends put Winterfest together, there's always, you have to think about what were the challenges, what went well, and usually what went well outweighs the challenges, so kudos to all of you. And I'll try to come in sooner than later next year.
I'm gonna bring a Bluetooth speaker
Kim?
next year. It'll be a party.
Okay.
Kim, feel free to finish at any time.
Well, and you were talking those bananas, and I'll tell you, it's really good.
I cleaned that banana tray.
If we had known you were going to be last, we would have saved you a donut.
Well, that's okay. I defer to the little sprinters.
Yeah. So I wrote on the list, maybe music at finish line, Bluetooth speaker and a playlist, somebody's got a playlist, but it helps for those last few moments to.
Get a little bit of celebration playing.
Someone who was there as just a spectator actually came down and they had a big Bluetooth speaker in the stroller and they were
Yes.
jamming out with signs waiting for their people to cross. And I was like, can I borrow that?
It was like mama.
It was a
Mama
mom
can
and
dance, or,
kid,
no,
yeah.
they had like a little cardboard sign, mama
Yeah,
can
Shake
dance.
Booty.
Yeah.
And something else, it was, but
Something
it was
about mom
fun.
dancing, yeah.
Yeah.
Cute, they're fun.
Shake what your mama gave you.
That was it, yeah.
They had, at West Hartford race, they had an inflatable arch over the road, and then, they had a digital timer. To like, from when the start of the race,
The timer was right there.
Timer?
There was a
Okay,
timer
I
there.
didn't get to see
Yeah,
it,
the,
but.
Jason,
the
how
people
would,
that finished could see what time they were
Mhm.
finishing.
how were the streets
I
blocked?
ignored it as I.
Was it just on that or was it elsewhere?
Yeah, the date was.
Yeah, went down Chalkbrook Lane, or
Oh.
Main Street all the way down, then it cut over to Chalkbrook. I think almost.
So those are pretty busy streets where they blocked
Oh,
off.
yeah, no, they're
At
not.
least at the
Maine,
block.
Farmington and Trowbrook,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, it's
Whoa.
no joke.
Hey,
They're-
Diane, also just so everyone knows, the Ken Platt, usually like the day after the race, there's a video finish of all the people. At least for the first 30 minutes. So all the runners can see themselves finish with their times. If they want to see that.
Is there a link to that from our?
I sent that up.
website?
Yeah, I sent the link and I put up all the race pictures, but if someone wants to immediately see how they did or what they look like when they finish, they can just go right. Yeah. Yeah.
You
So
mean, so I don't have to keep pushing my button on my camera? and take
no, that
pictures
was
of
good
it?
for you to do that. That was good for you to do that, Chris.
You did. I did a video, never pushed the start button.
I missed it was the beginning of the race too. It was a good video. So mad.
That's.
The only other thing I would add too, though, was, when I was talking with, Bill Rogers, he was expressing how much him and his brother enjoyed going to the library when they were kids. And so, I mean, even when I got my book signed by him, and he, wrote something in there regarding the library as well, and like that, so he was very supportive of everything he did.
He was, and he signed a lot of t-shirts for, Winterfest auction coming up.
Yeah.
Or silent auction or in gift baskets and stuff like that. Those shirts are not easy to sign, just saying. The fabric moves, so I wouldn't take a signature to the bank.
Well, on that same thought, what I mentioned before, another thought on the race is, and I want to pin this down well in advance, because it took a lot longer than I anticipated just to get PayPal set. Venmo is still not secure. And I've had a lot of help from the library staff, so it's not just me. But Jen did an analysis for me, kept track of, because we had to have, the breakdown of the registrations that came through on the MasterCard that we borrowed, the Friends Square. PayPal was only 4 registrations. The MasterCard, or the credit card, registration were 13 of them. And so is it, you're gonna pay a fee both ways. My thought being that it might be worthwhile as we move forward, and I'm thinking fundraising efforts for the facilities and the expansion. It might be worthwhile for us, because it's a monthly fee for maintaining the square. It wouldn't just be a 1-year thing or once a year type of thing to have it, if we would for the race. We could potentially use it for other things. There's something farther down on the agenda to discuss this too, in terms of sales. So, I'm wondering if the board wishes me to pursue that, because though we thought PayPal, which is supposed to be number 1 in terms of usage, only 4 people used it. They don't have it downloaded on their phone, and Venmo is being difficult. Venmo is owned by PayPal, but they're not recognizing our Gmail account that PayPal did. Still not quite sure why not. So we're sorting through that, but, and we can continue trying to do this, but it seemed like the MasterCard was more popular. In addition, Bill Rogers, I believe either his tablet didn't work or he didn't have.
He had a square, but.
He didn't know how to use it.
Yeah, that was the thing, technological know-how.
So his sales also went through the Friends.
It's
tablet as
it's
well.
much easier to use, especially like with registration, race day registration. That you want to be quick, and people just can either tap it or insert their card and they're done. Whereas the PayPal, if they didn't have the app, they were going to have to download it. I mean, people seem to like it a lot better, and I think they're more comfortable with it because a lot of people use it.
So it is something for discussion. I would like to bring it back in the fall if you want me to pursue it.
Okay. That's all good feedback. I know that you and, why am I,
Jen?
and, Patton, Michelle Patton.
Yeah,
Michelle Patton, spent a lot of time, trying to set that up, and it's disappointing that it didn't have a higher take rate. But I think, kind of sounds like a lesson learned that we were trying, and rightly so, we were trying to conserve expenses for what could be a 1-year event. Why pay for 24 months of service or what have you? But I think we should look into that, because as you said, next on the agenda, if we're ready to move off the race.
You wanna talk about this guy that wants to?
Yes, let's talk about it. So we have an opportunity to change up the race and the gift baskets. There was a gentleman that reached out to us, offering a $750 sponsorship with the idea that there would be money prizes for first, second, and third place.
First and second.
First and
Male
second.
and female.
So
Four
first,
prizes.
first place male, first place female,
Yeah.
second place male, second place female. He thought that might drive, not only more participation, but that might also help runners who are, competing in many different areas, traveling to different races, signing up, there's an expense to sign up and register for races and stuff like that. And he thought that might.
Yeah, he said that as a child, he always wanted to participate in the races, but couldn't afford the entry fee. So he felt that if we gave monetary prizes, it would offset the cost of entry fees for people who run regularly. And he's an avid runner, he loves reading, and he contributes to soccer too. And it's just individual donations that he does. So he asked if we would consider that. He'll give $500 regardless, but if we consider the monetary piece, he'll do $750.
And how would we break out the awards?
He said $100, it doesn't add up, I'll tell you right now. $100,
Using my math.
$100 for the open and $100 for the women winner. And then $50 for second open and $50 for second women. So that's $300, not $250. If he's giving 500 anyway, so that cuts in.
Overall winner gets.
100, well, 100 for both men and women each, get 100. And then second place winners get 50.
That's 300 versus the 250 over
Right.
500.
Right.
I'm sure if you told him that, he probably would bump it up, the $50 or whatever he's off.
I thought too.
Okay,
And he's committed to this for several years?
yes, I asked him that, and he said he would commit for as long as
If you
he
think
could.
they're upset they didn't get donuts, if they thought that they're gonna have $100.
And then next year they don't.
Award, and then
Yeah.
they finish and they don't have it, but we had it
So
last year.
we could make a category for donation that was a monetary donation maybe. And so that it's not just for him, if other people wanted to give to it, why couldn't they?
Yeah, why don't you give like in third place, $25?
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
expand it a little bit more, you know what I mean?
Or we could do something that we haven't done, take a monetary donation and buy the donuts, for instance. Or buy whatever we would buy and list it as such, these donuts are courtesy of a donation by Pam Canary.
Yeah, but not for him, he wants.
No, I'm talking in addition.
Yeah.
I would
So-
say go back to, I mean, if
So
we
he wants to be recognized as the sponsor for the
He didn't
prizes.
say that, but I would imagine that's the ultimate deal. He said he donates to a bunch of other things,
Yeah. He is an avid
So-
runner.
right? And he loves reading. He said his primary things are reading and running.
Yep.
Two of his three favorite.
And he's a
activities.
Newington
He
resident.
donates to BSC Golf, the Newington Soccer Club, and the Children's Theater.
Okay.
His name is Jim Amord, do you know
Yep.
him?
I do.
Might know.
I
Do
do.
you?
Yes.
Emord,
He's very,
EMOR.
he's very nice, super nice person.
He seems to be.
Yeah.
So, how does the board feel about a monetary award for second, possibly third place?
Does this affect anything tax wise? That's the big question.
We can take, it's a contribution, that's what we're using it for, we're giving, it's a donation.
Okay.
We just have to be careful, you know, it's not raffle prize, never call anything raffle, please.
Okay.
It's a donation. It's a donation, we can do that, that's not an issue. The concern that I have here is doing this upfront. If we've got some kind of a commitment, we have to understand that if he decides in 3 or 4 years that he's pulling out of it, that we will have to address whether we're moving funds elsewhere to fund it, because there is that expectation that it'll be there, and then the potential, feedback if we pull it.
Yeah. I addressed that with him, and he said he was willing to commit for a number of years, as long as he could, he said.
Well, I mean,
That's-
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it could be.
But then
You know,
maybe
it's-
that's where you try to put it out there for somebody else to do that.
As another category.
Right.
If we identified it as another category, like right now we have the
Cash
goals,
prize fund.
yeah, and just call it something. We could-
it would be along the lines, I would keep it simple for that year, your donations are from so-and-so or contributed, the fund is contributed till you reach your total, and those are the people who are listed. I wouldn't do a compilation that goes beyond that amount, kind of, because then you get into, are we stockpiling for another year or that type of thing?
Yeah, or can I win $125 for
Right,
first place
right,
this year,
right, and
but
then-
$75 for first place next year?
Right, so you wanna
So you don't know what-
set
what's
your
in the
limits,
fund.
and then it's kind of like, we used to have the mile markers, there were only a couple of them you could get for $7.50, that was it. And once the $7.50s were sponsored, that was all that could sponsor at $7.50.
So if I go back to him and ask him for 800, that will cover the 300 and make him a gold sponsor as well.
Yes.
Does that work?
So he'd be a gold and a prize sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that. Everybody want me to do that? Okay.
Do I have a motion that we would approve, cash prizes for first, second, and third place? Pending sponsorship, or?
Maybe talk about first and second,
You know,
male and female.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we need to make it that formal,
I don't think we do.
because there's no guarantee that the first prize, we've had, we used to have the canine, I don't know, we still have the canine where, you
Dog
could
training, grooming.
get your dog trained, obviously, if you had one. But there's no guarantee that the prizes are gonna be the same every year.
That's true.
So I don't think we should be so specific.
Well, do we wanna add it as a potential sponsor option?
Yeah, I think and then that comes back to, we don't usually vote on what our.
No, I
Yeah,
don't think we
don't.
need to vote.
Yeah,
If
so.
somebody wants to
Just ask
contribute
Is
500 or 800 in cash,
does
thank you
anybody
very
have-
much, and then the
have a
board
concern?
can make a determination unless it's specified like in restricted or
Well,
non-restricted.
he's expecting this, what he
Yeah,
said.
no, for him,
I would do
Yeah,
a cash prize sponsor at the gold level, and it would be an $800 cash donation. And we can say just single opportunity sponsor each year.
but I don't think we need to vote on anything.
No,
It just
no,
would
okay.
be added to our,
Yeah, it would be a level of sponsor.
Because that leaves us the ability that if we don't have a sponsor to pull it.
right,
Okay.
Right.
I'll email him.
doesn't have to be
So,
advertised.
express appreciation,
You don't
and
advertise,
that math works a little better.
And we don't advertise our gifts now,
No, we don't,
so.
but
We advertise sponsors, though.
Yeah, but
Sponsors,
his thing is that if we did advertise it as a cash prize, that we would get more young people to run as well.
might
He
get more-
thought it would be more of an enticement.
Well, we could, but we don't necessarily
We
have to
won't
identify.
identify it. Okay. Right. I'll email him.
This is a little dicier. So, Jen DeShane, was she involved with the, Scholastic Runners? Again, she coaches the women's cross-country and track teams.
Yes, she was.
Was, okay, so that's her husband.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't.
Oh, this
And-
fellow that we're
Yeah.
talking about?
And they give to a lot of things. It's all legit. But I'm just wondering, is there enough separation, him being her husband, she being an employee of the town? Is there any awkwardness there?
She's employed by the Board of Ed though, isn't she?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's still the town of Newington.
But the donation isn't coming from,
Is she an elected official?
No,
from him.
She's just someone who, I don't think it's an issue.
I don't
If we
think
did
you're-
that, we'd have to eliminate a lot of people who give
Yeah.
because they work for the town.
but they don't, I'm just wondering about the recognition part of it. You know, the E-Mord Award, and his wife is coaching the runners. And her runners win.
But does he want that, does he want it as an award, or does he just want to make sure that there's a cash prize?
He just wants to make sure there's a cash prize. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I just think we need to think of.
How do we
all the
identify
sponsors.
him then as a gold sponsor? Don't they have banners?
Just a name.
Yeah,
If
he's
you,
a name.
okay.
well,
Because they all had banners.
no, they just would be they're a sponsor,
above.
like Kevin's a sponsor, and like Ron is a sponsor.
Okay. All right.
Right, and name them,
I think it's all
If you are a sponsor at $500 or above, you have the ability to bring a company banner. But you don't have to have a company.
But they're on the t-shirts too, right?
500 and above, there are t-shirts on the back, so the name, however it is.
It could just be Joe Smith donor or
Yeah.
whatever.
All right.
Is there.
I think we're complicating this.
Yeah,
Well, we are, but this is the time to bring up questions or think about it, not afterwards, to that.
The only
point.
question
So-
lies in if he wants it known that he gives money,
I don't,
cash.
I didn't get
But you know
that.
what?
but if we have other gold
That's the
sponsors that are cash donations, then we don't necessarily have to pinpoint
We
one
have to
person as the
pick
cash
one.
prize donor.
If somebody
Yeah,
that
but you
lives
don't
on
say
Main
they
Street,
give money,
Newington,
I
and
mean,
works for
cash.
the town of Newington,
Yeah.
wants to write us out a check for $1,000, I'm gonna call them a sponsor and I'll gratefully thank them.
Yeah,
And for NCTC and soccer, he gives generously and gets no recognition.
Yeah, I didn't get the
I just
impression
checked
he
it.
was looking for
This
that.
is James.
But we
Just have to
brother.
confirm that all,
Yeah.
Okay, so-
have his name on the t-shirt.
So the recognition would be the same for any other person
Yeah.
that donates at a
Certain
certain dollar level. So whatever dollar level it ends up falling into, that's the level of recognition, whether
Okay.
it's a. you
Well,
know,
it'd be like
on-
Mary Ellen Procco, honestly.
Right.
Right.
You just have to ask him.
That's what I'm saying, depends on the dollar amount, it's advertised, it's on the shirt with a banner, it's, whatever, wherever it falls into.
All right. I'll email him.
Okay. All right, so we're all of an opinion that it's fine to move forward with that.
Mhm.
Thank you. And thank you to him for thinking of us
I
and
know.
reaching out, that's very nice, very generous. Anything that can get new runners, we had, I think it was 354, does anybody know the official count?
I think that's what it was, Diane.
354.
Yeah, it was 354 runners, so, that boosts us up, that will be nice. I can remember not so many years ago, it was actually before COVID, but, we had a meeting as to whether or not we should continue with the race, because we weren't getting enough runners. We always need sponsors, it costs money just to set up the race, so, and it's supposed to be a fundraising event.
Yeah.
So it's nice that it comes through, so a lot of hard work from everyone, not only pulling together the race, but doing the fundraiser, getting the, word of mouth out and stuff, so we've come a long way, is what I wanna say, before we come out of this, it means the event is done, and, only took us 28 years to get there. But good. All right, back to my agenda, the next on the agenda is Newington Afghans. Some of you that have been on the board for a while, know that, what's the long name, the Greater Hartford Women's
it's the Newington Junior Women's Club originally, developed the Afghans. For those of you who haven't seen them, there are a few that are still hanging around here at the library that ended up from Newington Education Foundation. Newington Junior Women's Club developed the Afghan, which is a cut and throw, with various scenes around town to commemorate the 1996 125th anniversary of the town of Newington, and used it as a fundraiser. They used it, so 10% of the earnings went to the town's 125th committee, and the balance went to Newington Juniors. Over the course of a year, they made $18,000 on them. They sold them at $50 a piece, including sales tax, so we have to register for a sales tax number if we're going to do that. Over the course of time, while they were in existence, Junior Women's Club sold a number of them. They had them in various colors, blue and white, green and white, rose, cranberry, etc. The biggest sellers were the green and white and the blue and white. When they decided to close up their organization, Juniors ceased to exist. They gave the copyright can only belong to one organization in town. They gave the copyright to Newington Education Foundation, which had it for about 10 years, and they sold them over a course of time. They revamped it, so it said Newington Education Foundation. They kept all the pictures the same. The scenes are things like the falls, the town hall, the old town hall, the library, the Kellogg Getty House, those type of things. The old VA, the old Children's Hospital. So those are all on there. And basically they're made from a photograph, and then they're done by a loomer in South Carolina. When Education Foundation closed their doors a few years ago, they gave the library board the copyright. So we have them. I have the contacts with the company has changed names and whatever, but I have the contact to go back to them. This is something that, first of all, and I wish I had thought to bring one in, but we have one here in the library, to show you their cotton throws. They have these depicted scenes. A few of the scenes probably should be changed out. First of all, the Children's Hospital is no longer the Children's Hospital, and from what I understand, it's going to come down. So that isn't something. The front of the VA has changed, and obviously our town hall has changed. Perhaps there are other places in town that we wish to commemorate, but you basically have to have someone who coordinates it, works with the manufacturing company so that they can put these pictures into the loom art, and then we own the copyright for them. Now, the price 5 years ago, $50 after the sales tax and after the cost, you probably made about $20 per blanket if you sold it for $50. Thinking ahead for our expansion, if we wanted to have these ready, there's got to be some work done with the company and get ourselves back in, because we do own this, or the only organization in town who has the copyright for this blanket. So therefore, if we wanted to move forward on it, we need to kind of have a subcommittee that's going to work on this, somebody who's very talented with photography, find out exactly what they need, that type of thing, and then put the design in.
Or has an iPhone.
And get the design set. Yeah, and the other thing too here is there is a front load cost because you order by the 25. So you have to purchase them and then you sell them. So we would have to, in the case of when juniors did this, they had events they were going to. They were part of the 125th celebration, and there were events across the year, and they brought to extravaganza, or they sold orders at extravaganza because they didn't want to give their piece to the Parks and Rec sale. But they filled orders, and then they also had them at various, you could order them, and we had one individual who just handled filling the orders as they came in. So somebody could mail in an order or do in this case, that was years ago, but we could do an online order or whatever. And then, that's where I come back to potentially doing the MasterCard. Now, MasterCard would take more pieces out of the cost, and we would also have to look at what the final cost would be on these. It wouldn't necessarily be best to sell at 50 at this point, but it is something that we own. It is a resource we have. But number one, I have to get the sales tax number. We have to establish, because we don't have the ability, we are tax exempt, but we have to, whoever buys it is not tax exempt, so we have to file with the state whatever we sell, and we typically are not retail. So we have to
get that in place. As well as the potential redesign, because there are outdated items on the Afghan as it is now. I'm just putting it out there. If we're going to raise money, this is something we already have half in place. So.
I think it's, it's an interesting fundraiser. I think an Afghan is more well received than I don't know, an oven mitt. The other thing that we,
I just took a drink. Sip of water in my mouth when you said that, and I almost.
Like anything but oven mitt.
this Afghan has been around, the block for a long time. And we've given them as gifts, like at annual meetings, not a gift, but as a thank you, And, one year, and this is many years ago, I, was at a loss what to buy for, my in-law piece of the Christmas. And I have a brother-in-law who lives in California, and I bought like 5 of those blankets, and they were very well received.
Are they Afghans like your grandmother?
No,
No.
They're cotton throws,
They're cotton.
and
They're
they're,
very nice.
you don't have, they're typically, we have one,
Oh,
Oh,
down
yeah,
in the basement.
we don't have one here.
But.
They're very nice.
That we have
They're-
maybe,
they're
we
cotton
probably.
New Britain.
Woven on a loom, and they've got the fringe on all the sides, if you've seen them, and
Yeah.
then they've got.
Currently in the center of it is the Newington Town Seal. And then the pieces are around it, in terms of the various scenes with like, Newington, Mill Pond gazebo underneath it, or
It's
that.
very common. New Britain had one with
Um,
their historic,
And,
pieces.
so
Yeah.
it's a kind of thing that
Yeah.
it does require some work to change it out and to get reloomed. We are down to, and I can make a point of going down and getting one. I didn't even think to do it for tonight's meeting. I apologize. I actually could have pulled one off of my house because I have them in like every color somewhere in the house. But they wash really well. They're not a true blanket. They're
Yeah.
more of a.
So
throw.
let's keep going.
Yeah,
But it's a
okay.
good size.
But it is something that I think that if we're going to do, it's gonna take work of initially a few people to put this together to make sure we can go back. I can, if you want me to follow up, I haven't gone back to the loomer for a while because we haven't had anything to do with them, but I can. Plus I have to get that sales tax number in place. If we're going to do it, I would ask that by September, we have an idea of whether we're gonna pursue this, and then I will pursue the sales tax number and things like that.
Does the manufacturer have a minimum order?
25?
I believe it's 25.
That's all.
And if you're gonna change colors, it's by color, so,
Per color.
yeah, per color.
25 isn't a lot.
So if we need the 2 primary colors.
So if you did like green and the green and the blue seem to be the
Yeah.
ones that people are most interested in.
Yeah.
I think what we have
Well, I think,
downstairs are.
I think the first thing that we would have to do is find out what the cost is for the new setup and.
Well, and I can
what-
pursue that, but I
what is
didn't
it
want,
now?
I
Is it
didn't
a
want to go to them if this
$50,
wasn't anything we
cost?
wanted to do.
When we're done, is it a $75 cost when we're done? Cause it's.
And because I was
Well,
a
the
junior
setup
and then I
is
was
usually
Education Foundation, I seem to have my name on this, so.
Is anybody under 70 gonna buy one?
They're not grandmas. They're updated grandmas.
They're not, it's not a knitted.
So I can look at it in.
Yeah, I know what it is.
I gave one to Gary Turco when he was elected.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is, cause I mean, they just recently sold all those little ornaments or magnets with all the Newington scenes on them. I mean, I got one for Christmas, cause I.
They're nice, aren't they?
They're nice, so,
I think
so I think that a lot of people who like Newington would like them, so.
Well, we still get inquiries occasionally, not a lot, but some people are aware that they're here at the library and we'll get a heads up
There's
and.
probably not a lot of people who are aware.
No.
I mean, like if we had them at the race to sell, we had them at any of our fun.
Well, the thing is that what we
Well,
have right
things.
now, they say Newington Education Foundation, on it, because they
Yeah.
gave us the copyright and they
Right,
gave
so
us
we
the
have to
remaining
change all
stuff.
that.
So, couple of thoughts here, right?
Yeah.
Maybe when we're doing surveys or other things, having a napkin for sale might be a reason to entice them to come over to look at the table. Have questions, go through, so I think maybe communications can figure it out, we've got to figure out what's happening with that. I think it makes sense to go forward with a charge card if we're gonna go into the Afghan business or other fundraisers or what have you. We
Oven
need
mitt
an easy
doesn't.
way. Yeah, I'm gonna start selling oven mitts. We're doing it, and it's just a
No,
incredible.
it's-
That's gonna go down in panels. Anyways, I don't know that we'll have it nailed down by September meeting, but I think certainly by October meeting, we would know, because remember the September. meeting
No,
is short.
I just want us, like, if we're going to move forward with this, it's going to take some time to put this together
will.
if we do decide to fire.
I think it's still a good idea to find out at least what the latest cost.
I can talk to the loom, the loom manufacturing company and find out what we have to do. I'm stuck on oven mitts. Should I ask if they do oven mitts?
Sure they do.
Bathroom mats.
No, because we don't want them to burn the light.
I think
Those
that people, whether you're a Newington resident or a Berlin resident
You
or
don't get
New
those.
Britain, if you're interested in the history and in your hometown, that's a nice gift,
It is.
other than. oven mitts.
Tim, you had a comment to share?
Well, just a question, first of all, didn't we have one hanging?
It was in the town hall. It was
Yeah.
in the
I thought
town
there was
hall.
one
They-
here up the
No, it was
top.
in the town hall,
No,
the old
there's
town
a
hall in the
quilt
main
upstairs.
lobby.
Yeah.
And when, the renovation happened, it got taken down and they were gonna throw it away and Pam Maraka grabbed it and ran it over to me.
Okay,
Okay, so
well, that was just,
No, but that's where it was. It was just displayed under plexiglass for years.
okay, cause I'm wondering, and I don't know if it's even possible.
So a question was, how big are they? It's like two people sitting on the couch watching.
It's more of a large
It's not
lap.
go, it's
Five by
not
eight.
completely cover a twin size bed or something. It's not
It's
like a
bigger
bed.
than lap, but it's not,
It's
I think we need like one conversation.
Yeah, so the question that came to mind was.
Yeah.
I can visualize the size of
Pan.
what it would be. Would it be possible, and I guess that would be a question for the loomer, to even do it as, to have another option, which would be like a tea towel?
I can
So
find out
that
what's
for
on.
folks that maybe they don't want an Afghan or a lap robe, but maybe would buy something, and I don't know, would the
Okay, so-
images be too
I
small?
would-
I like something that can
I
check
have
into
my
that.
homework for the summer.
All right.
I will find out.
Do you want other people to work with you? We need an idea about this.
It's got one hanging there on the.
Well, let me find out what the
That's
cost
it.
is.
It's like
Okay, 'cause
three-
And what's
Send
possible.
it.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I can put out word when I get some information,
It's like
and
a
then
good.
people can
a
decide
cranberry.
what they want.
Okay, that's good.
projector.
Oh, I'm not the.
Pauline and Andy, what are you contributing? What's?
We are contributing oven mitts, cause I.
Okay. All right. No, I just,
Those are
I'm
gonna
just
be
trying to figure out
forever.
where we are with this conversation. It's 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
If anybody else
Okay.
didn't realize the time.
All right, I will follow that up.
All right, so you're looking into the cost, to set up and manufacture Afghans and see if there's tea towels as a sideline. We'll table the credit card conversation until we know if we're gonna move forward with that, because that makes it a no-brainer. Although it seems like, depending on the cost for that credit card, the PayPal is not really a good option for the race. Right, so if we're done with the Afghan conversation, and maybe we'll have one, let's have a picture of something, that. Leanne, if you would be so kind as to, at some point when you get home, spread out your Afghan, snap a picture and send it to the board.
I can do that.
Thank you. That's better than going in the basement, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those are all hermetically sealed.
Okay, so open board positions, we do have a couple of open positions. I believe it's one Democrat and one corporate at this point, at least. So if you know of folks who would be interested in joining us, you can, when they ask how long the meetings are, you could kind of budget a little bit or. Yeah, it depends on how many questions there are. As that goes through, but anybody who would be interested. And again, as I said, town appointed positions and corporate positions, really the only difference is the ability to hold an executive office. Offices.
It's a Democratic position that's open.
No, it's Republican.
Republican. I thought it was Republican.
Thank you, Maureen, for the correction. The rest of you that are agreeing with Maureen, correct me.
Comes with an oven mitt.
You made me second.
Oh, boy.
For Christmas, I'm bringing you an oven mitt.
And our meetings are very stiff, just, you know, so they know. But anybody who's interested, we're always looking for, volunteers. If they wanna, even if they just wanna sit in on a couple of meetings. I know with YouTube, they're probably watching them quiet, but if they come in person, we can maybe entertain them a little bit more. Update on available grants, I think, it's in process. The work of Sonia was already reported on. The check came in for the Triumph STEM grant. Again, thank you to Christopher and his company. We very much appreciate, that ongoing support. Trying to go, so we talked about the annual meeting. One of the folks that, was suggested for recognition was the Dharma Drum. Because of their consistent, appreciation of, using our facilities.
And I do believe on the Johnson family, with this newest bequest, they don't have any children, but I believe there are people in town who are nieces and nephews.
Okay.
There is at least one. The rest of them, I think, are Florida and what have you. But I believe there's one in town, so that might be somebody to reach out to, but they still should be acknowledged.
Yes. Okay. Recognition nomination, so that's what we're talking about now. Are there people that, have gone out of their way to service? I think Anna had a little summary of some of the, past nominations and stuff that we had done, but think about it. It's not, too late to come up with other names. Sometimes it's hard to think of them on the spot, but if it comes to you tomorrow or next couple of weeks, reach out, please. And we'll make the list of, those that we'll recognize during our annual meeting. Public participation. If anybody has questions about, nominations for the annual meeting, appreciation, whether it be sponsors or volunteerism or anything, no? Suggestions to room to us. Okay, so then I'll move on to, public participation. Is there anybody online? No. Okay. And I don't see any in the room.
I move to adjourn.
You just sit on that other mid for a minute and wait for me to say that I would entertain a motion for adjournment. So I believe Kelly wins the honor of being first off the mark. Do we have a second? Oh, please. I don't need a second for adjournment.
Kelly can be our new Paul Doyle.
So,
Not Paul Doyle. Dennis.
Jason,
Dennis.
want a second? Is that what you're doing? Okay,
Well, I also had,
you had a question.
yeah, at the Bill Rogers table at the race, I bought a book and I had him sign it to my uncle Dan. And it wound up getting lost in the mix
Oh,
and
no.
I got a blank one instead.
Oh, gosh.
So if anybody came across it by chance,
Someone has an Uncle Dan book.
I guess so. Nobody's saying anything, so, okay, I just figured I'd ask if anybody had it or not. That's okay.
We can get him another minute.
Yeah, maybe we can reach out to Bill and see if he ended up.
I promise you.
Okay.
You know, it's Boston, it's not far. You know?
Yeah.
We can,
Okay, no, just be good ask.
Right, but then I would say that the meeting was adjourned. By Kelly, so thank you all, thank you for your participation, I appreciate it. Remember that the annual meeting for the Friends is, Wednesday, it starts at 6 in this room.
We have short meetings at the Mondo Entertainment.
Yeah, they're better.